Hello and welcome to Live Letter 58, letter from the producer Live 58 breakdown for Final Fantasy XIV from Yoshi and FFXIV. Now, due to COVID-19, they were not able to be in the same room and so had to be separated because they were trying to follow the rules. But we're going to get into all that later as well. And I did most of this translation work myself, but also fell back upon the Reddit translation to make sure that I didn't get anything wrong. And so there are some parts where I use their translation and some where I use my own. So thank you so much again to the Reddit translation. That is super helpful to be able to double check my stuff while I'm still finishing learning Japanese. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. So with that, let's get into it. The live letter opens with Yoshi P sitting next to this fat chocobo. And the joke is, I know you love curry, Fox, but you might have eaten too much mabo. And so later on, there'll be a picture of FFXIV sitting with one as well. But as you can see here, they are separated in a different room. They're not in the same room together. And they talk a little bit about COVID-19 and how the crew is working with that. So with that said, Yoshi P says, we are feeling the impact of the coronavirus in the dev team. We're doing our best. And they have a letter that was sent in that Yoshi P does read off that says, Dear Yoshi P, I'm working on the front line fighting coronavirus, playing a lot of Final Fantasy XIV before the pandemic began, and I was looking forward to playing 14 with my friends every day. The friends I met in the game are what give me strength every day. It's my job to fight for all the patients affected by coronavirus, and I am truly grateful for Final Fantasy XIV because I feel like it is giving everyone strength to get through all this. Thank you for all you were doing and keeping the team safe. Great letter, right? Really, really solid letter. And I think what my favorite part of it is the response that Yoshi P gives, where he says that he's the one that needs to say thank you. Thank you for fighting. Thank you for helping. Thank you for being there for people. And that they'll keep trying to do their best of the dev team as well. He says that that's a letter they got from a player, that they didn't ask permission to publish it, and he is sorry about that, but he felt like he had to share it after he got it. Then they talk a little bit about what's going on with the dev team. With patch 5.3, they had already stated that it was going to be pushed back. They finished about 70% of the patch so far of the dev work on it, and they're supposed to be doing the final checks for difficulties, bugs, anything like that, and then they had to start working from home because of the coronavirus. Now, he says, unlike in Tokyo, restrictions around the world are a little bit stricter. Voice actors have already started recording their text from home and sending them in, and that everything for 5.3 has been recorded. The dev team is checking for major and minor bugs on their local servers before uploading it to the main development server that they share. However, because of having to work from home and them having to use their own internet and not the office internet, it's taking a lot longer to upload everything. So he states what could take 20 minutes to upload before is now taking anywhere from 4 to 20 hours, which is crazy. And huge thanks to the dev team for still working during all this, trying to keep everything going, trying to still push that stuff through. When Premiere crashes on me and it was just like a 2-hour render, I get really frustrated. I can't imagine a 21 and it may not go through. That said, because of all this, definitely getting some pushback. We don't know how far yet. They don't know how far yet, but it's definitely going to be pushed further back. He also says that Japanese homes are normally smaller, and so the devs are now having to work around their families, and to please understand if things take a little bit longer with that too. They're looking at least a month most likely, but they don't know for sure how long. Right now they're still working on trying to update the 24-man raid as well, and the problem they're having is that they don't know if all 24 people to test it can connect from home to the server the way they're supposed to be. They have to figure out if they can even do that to be able to test it before it can even go out. So he says, please understand. And he will keep us updated on future development in this situation in developer blogs. And from there, now of course there will probably be some spoilers if you have not finished Shadowbringers yet. From there we get our patch artwork. It's patch 5.3, Reflections in Crystal. Very, very nice looking artwork. I zoomed in way too far there. There you go. It's very nice. From there, we're getting new main scenario quests, which will be the conclusion to the main Shadowbringers story. There'll still obviously be a story after in patch 5.4 and everything like that, but the main Shadowbringer story will end in patch 5.3. What that means, we're going to have to find out. I'm a little bit concerned about the Exarch and about everything there, but we will find out. From there, they say that you will have to finish the Crystal Tower questline and the quest My Little Chocobo. Those are required to be able to finish Shadowbringers. We'll get into the changes to ARR in a little bit, where they do incorporate some of that, but you have to do those quests. So if you have not yet done the Crystal Tower raid series, Labyrinth of the Ancients, Circus Tower, World of Darkness, you need to do those. And then you also need to do My Little Chocobo if you haven't done that for some reason. So please get those done if you want to finish the main story quest. Yoshi P does say it should be pretty easy to do the Crystal Tower questline now, because they've nerfed the requirements a lot, so now's the time to do it. They also talk about how players that started FF14 now and are still in A Realm Reborn are being asked, hey, don't you want to go do the Crystal Tower series? Wink, wink. And when they get to 5.0, it's the same again, where people are recommending they do it. So at some point, players will be introduced to the quest line. If you finished everything up to 5.3, you probably want to do it now before it's unlocked. From there, we get this image from the MSQ. Yoshi P comments, so many tall people. So we'll see what's going on with that. That's definitely a Malroutines. Interested to see how all of this is going to work out, for sure. From there, there'll be a new instance dungeon. The Hero's Gauntlet, which will be trustable, of course. It's in Lakeland. So the Grand Cosmos is also off of Lakeland. The Hero's Gauntlet, is this going to be tied into that, I can't remember the name of it right now, that castle that's in the middle of Lakeland? It looks like it could be there, but it also looks like it could be the ruins in front of the big cliffs over there. So we'll see. I'm very interested to find out. I like Lakeland as a zone a lot too, so I'm not against that at all. From there, new beast tribes coming up. The dwarves, focusing on crafting. Dwarves, super hype. Love the dwarves. Our last beast tribe was a gatherer, so I'm excited that this one is a crafter. The joke, of course, is made, well, we'll probably make things, right? So please be excited for that. That is going to be really cool. Interested to see what kind of mount we'll get, since this mount is already tied to the Super Fate. We'll see. From there, we have more Chronicles of New Era, more Sorrow of Werlut stuff coming up. No trial this installment. There won't be a trial, but there will be an instance encounter. Due to just how much is in this patch, there won't be a trial for this one. Because they put everything into the MSQ. It says story focused. And then we get to see this, which I'm assuming is probably Sapphire Weapon. I guess it could be Diamond Weapon, but like that's probably, look at all this blue. And if we fight it in an instance but don't kill it, that'll be really interesting. I know there were rumors early on that it would be Regula's combat data that was used in it, and the helmet does look kind of like Regula's helmet, Regula Van Hydrus. So we'll see. Very interesting. Very interesting. We have a new trial coming to Shadowbringers MSQ. It's a secret for now. It'll be the final battle of the Shadowbringers story. I did see some people saying it could be the Crystal Exarch. I hope it's not. I hope we don't have to fight him. I really, really hope we don't. But we will find out. It could be Elidibus. Who knows? We may finally get to fight Elidibus and end it all with the Ascians. I doubt that highly, but we'll see. We shall see. There was a good joke here before we move on. There was a good joke here where they talk about how people were hoping that Ratatan and Cape Westwind would return. And Yoshi P says that some players have been joking that the next Prime will be Ratatan. Is that the same for all of you? Are all of you around people that are joking too? And then the comments made that there's so much they'd have to do if they went back to that fight. All the soldiers in the back, the poor soldiers in the back, that people don't even listen to their text anymore. They don't even care about them, you know? So that could be interesting if it ever comes back, but they have no plans to do so right now. From there, we get into the next raid for the Alliance raids, Yorhug Dark Apocalypse, which is, look at this beautiful artwork. That's definitely the bunker. Look at this. And it's called the Puppet's Bunker. So, because of who we had to fight at the end of the previous raid, I'm assuming at the end of this one, we'll have to fight the commander, right? Oh, man. And they say people that played Nier may be familiar with this, but why does it look like this, and how did it end up here? All good questions. From there, there's some job adjustments coming with PvE and PvP adjustments. We don't know what they are. They don't talk about them at all here, as we had already been told that they weren't going to talk about job adjustments in the live letters anymore. Daily Challenge Frontline, the roulette, will now include all Frontline campaigns. I'm torn on this. On the one hand, I really loved the Nodum. It's my favorite PvP mode. It's the only one I want to play. But on the other hand, trying to get achievements for the other modes has been really difficult. So I would have preferred that they just added another roulette that is old and new. But what can you do? You can't just not have people do the old content. So they'll all be in there. Hopefully we get Nodum a lot, I guess. From there, the Resistance questline will continue. You will get things like the upgrading of your relic weapon. 5.2 was the beginning. There was a lot of story in the trial. And 5.3 we'll get the instance. It will be like Eureka, but won't be Eureka. There'll be 100 players that can enter a field, but the content inside is supposed to be completely different. So we'll see how that goes. Very interested there. And they're planning to add actions that you can only use in this field instance. There are also going to be 2 choices on how to upgrade your weapon. You don't have to do the Bajin Southern Front storyline part of it. You can do it a different way, it seems, but story is mandatory for both ways. So, interesting. Crafting and gathering, of course. Oh, there's the other half of that. I didn't remember that I took that second screenshot. Crafter and gatherer updates coming in, including trial synthesis, which I think is really cool. They don't know for sure yet where they're going to slot this in, but it'll probably be 5.35. Trial syntheses will basically be you can try crafting the thing before using your materials, which is really cool for just about all recipes. And the other cool part from that is that you can reverse search for recipes from mats in your inventory. So if you just have stuff and you don't know what you can do with it, you can reverse search that. And that should help a lot with cleaning up your inventory, because there's garbage that you have in your inventory that you don't know what to do with, and you kind of just sell it or put it on a retainer. But if you can reverse search it, then you can craft stuff with it right away and get it out of there. That's really cool. They're also going to update the custom deliveries. They say it's a little too clunky right now, so they want to fix that, streamline it a little bit, make it look better, which would be nice. Collectibles will be changed a little bit as well. It'll be a set list of items instead of just everything. From there, Ishgard changes. Restoration will enter its 3rd phase. The rankings, of course, will reopen. There'll be new items to go for with the rankings. Top ranked players will achieve achievements and titles. They also state that you do not want to hoard the stuff that you do have, the grade 2 stuff. My assumption is that we'll get grade 3 stuff in the update, the 3rd phase. So don't hold on to your grade 2 stuff expecting it to be usable in grade 3. From there, Skysteel tools get an update, of course, further enhancements for those. Don't worry if you haven't finished them yet. Yoshi P says, stay home, have enough time. So, like, don't panic. Everything's going to be fine. Plenty of time to do all this. From there comes probably the best news. We're finally talking about the Realm Reborn revamp. We knew it was coming. Very excited to get into this. So, about 13% of the quests have been completely taken away and removed from A Realm Reborn. Specifically from, like, the post 2.0 to 2.5 series, and have been made side quests. They've also added additional experience points and gear to smooth all of that out, which is really, really cool. They took away a lot of the steps, too, in quests that people had of the just go back all the time or go turn this to this person and then come back. So that should help a lot. And then all of that, of course, will be streamlined. They also, Yoshi P mentions that at one point, Gegger Juju, for instance, is not that important in the long term. And players have not been asking, when is Gegger Juju going to come back? So they've removed a lot of the fluff with him and other NPCs and made them side quests instead. Sorry, Gegger Juju. It also, in part of this, they will cycle in My Little Chocobo and the Crystal Tower quest will be a part of ARR now. So you will have to do them to be able to finish ARR and move on to Heavensward, which is great. That's what they should have done the whole time if they wanted to make sure people did them. So they mentioned that you'll be completing these quests a whole lot faster now. It'll be less quests, and the ones that remain are faster and easier to do. They also mentioned that a lot of players get stuck in this part of ARR 2.0 and on, right after they finish ARR, going into like patch 2.55 stuff, getting there, and that most players that quit do it after 2.1. So from now on, new players will be able to run through that while they're still deep inside the story without having to do all the fetch quests that seem unnecessary. If you have accepted a quest and it got changed or deleted, it'll show you what to do instead. So those have all been updated. And then, of course, as we talked about, rewards have been increased. You do not have to do any side quests. And they plan to do this as well for Heavensward, Stormblood, and Shadowbringers so that you can have side quests for your alt jobs, which I think is really interesting. Interesting to note here, they say that the Japanese forums have been complaining about how long it takes for new players to catch up, and so they're fixing that finally. You'll be able to fly in ARR areas, which is so good. I love that. I'm so excited for that. They did say there'll be a couple things to keep in mind. The quest, I Believe I Can Fly, will be deleted for your chocobo flying. The sound might not be right at first, so you may be hearing ground noises while you're flying in ARR zones, so keep that in mind. You will not have to find any of the ether currents or anything like that. Just completing the MSQ to ARR, completing the final dungeon of ARR, will give you flying. You'll unlock it then. They mentioned that they thought Yoshi thought the cost would be too high to do flying in ARR, but that the dev team was like, if we look at it that way, we'll never get it done. So they're doing it now, which I think is really cool. You will not be able to swim with a mount. You won't be able to go underwater in areas of ARR, but more than made up by the ability to fly, I believe. And maybe later on they can add some underwater areas. That'd be really cool. Some things will no longer be able to be climbed. Keep that in mind. And for anybody that was like, oh, well, it looks like they changed the bounding box on some of this stuff here. Collision's different here. But did they do that for flying? That's absolutely why they did that. So that's really cool. From there, we get into Unreal Trials, the new thing that's coming. If you never got to fight Primals at level synced when everybody was at gear, now it's time. When we were fighting Titan before, for instance, they bring up, we were level 50. You're synced to level 50. But now Titan will be like, yo, I'm level 80 now. So, yeah. There'll be Unreal versions of these trials that'll be synced to level 80 and will probably be very difficult. But if you complete them once a week, you will be able to do a new minigame called the Faux Hollows. And how that works, we have no idea. We don't know what it rewards. We just know that it does give rewards based on how you do in the Faux Hollows. So here you can relive the intensity of early trials with these challenging battles. One trial per patch, each for a limited time. So the trials will cycle, basically. It's going to start with Shiva, and then it'll cycle around to some of the other ones. There's also a fun little deal here where they talk about since the fights weren't made for level 80, the original fights, they can't just bump up the HP. That wouldn't work. They have to adjust them fight by fight. And they're not sure how the cost for doing these will be, but maybe they can get it to 2 trials per patch. That would be cool, right? So very excited for that. A lot of people want to do Titan first, he said in the dev team. But looking at it now, Titan's basically Savage difficulty, and we had Stone Skin back then. We don't have Stone Skin now. They were afraid that if they did Titan first, people would not do this new thing. They're going to start with Shiva, because people have already kind of fought Shiva in a recent fight that I won't spoil. So from there, miscellaneous updates. You'll be able to join parties in a party in the party finder. So like if you're already in a party, you'll just be able to bring everybody. You don't have to like empty out and then all try to get in at the same time, which is very nice. As long as there's room in there, you can join. And they will also be limiting, oh, those got mixed up somehow. They'll also be limiting, you have the option to limit, I should say, if you only want one job, one player per job. I'll get it out eventually. In the party finder, where it's just one person in that job instead of you make one and you have 4 dragoons. Now you can specify you just want 1 dragoon, which is nice. And you'll be able to use the world visit system while you're in a cross-world party. You can leave a world and go to another world while you're in the party waiting for people to join, which is very cool. I like that a lot. A lot of people are in hunt trains, for instance, is an example they gave. So you can do that. You can party finder for a hunt train while you are in a cross-world party, which is very nice. From there, we have a new menu for parasols is going to be added. New chapters will be added. New Game Plus, which I assume will be the extra stuff we still needed, side quest stuff, maybe some job quest stuff. They didn't say. Be really cool. And then new token exchange vendors will be added to major cities. And that's pretty much it, honestly. We see here FoxClan with his Fat Chocobo. And we get into the ad stuff. There'll be a free login campaign ending May 17th. We already knew this campaign was going. It ends May 17th. So if you haven't played in a while, this is your chance still to get in. There's a sale in Japan and the NA and in EU. It is Complete Edition and Shadowbringer Standard. It ends Wednesday, April 29th. Just keep that in mind. The creation of Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers has been going on YouTube, where they've been doing a behind-the-scenes series on Shadowbringers and how that happened. They're adding a bonus episode to it for Yorha Dark Apocalypse, and they showed a little bit of that with Yokotaro, about how MMOs were new to him, which is pretty cool. And he wrote something crazy, and they told him, oh yeah, you can't let the Warrior of Light do something like that. And he was getting yelled at by the 14 team. There's still a lot that we don't have when it comes to... We gotta go all the way back up to the first here. A lot that we don't have when it comes to knowledge of when this stuff is coming out, unfortunately. But this was a pretty good short little live letter. The big stuff, obviously, is ARR flying, patch art, things like that. Big thank you, of course, to Yoshi P and FoxClan for still putting up with all this, with all the restrictions and trying to do this still. A lot of information we don't have, but we'll get that in part 2 when that comes out, which will be a deep dive into all the stuff that we have looked at, most likely. Everybody, please try and continue to be safe. Excited for the new dungeon. Excited for flying. Excited for the new MSQ. Excited for the new Chronicles of New Era MSQ. Excited for Cape Westwind to never come back. Excited for Bozja and everything going on there with the relic weapon. And I'm excited to be able to fly in ARR. That's the big one I keep coming back to. And eventually to fight Titan at level 80. But until next time, let me know your thoughts on this live letter in the comment section down below. I've been Trey. This has been the Full Spectrum. And remember to always enjoy the full spectrum that FF14 has to offer.